In this video, I want to share with you some reasons why I am actually leaving the Panasonic Micro Four Thirds ecosystem for the Canon full frame life. Coming up. What's up guys, my name is Timothy, and on this channel I focus on tech tools and tutorials to help you create the best content that you can for your YouTube channels and your productions. So hey, if you're new here, consider subscribing and joining the community. Hey, and real quick before we jump into this video, I wanted to share with you a brand new upload schedule that I'm starting this week right here on the channel. You can look for new videos every Tuesday and Friday around 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to be uploading new videos twice every single week. So if you've been around the channel for a while, you know that I have been shooting with the Panasonic GH5. This camera has been an absolute beast. I have really enjoyed it. My experience with it has been very pleasant. I really love the portability of this camera, how small and compact the Micro Four Thirds system is, as well as that flip out LCD screen. It is really nice. The lenses are small, it's really lightweight, and overall it's a great camera. One of the incredible things about this camera is the in-body image stabilization, where that sensor inside is actually stabilized. That's pretty huge because you can get very smooth shots even while you're moving with this camera without using a gimbal or anything like that. So that's a huge benefit to this camera. One of the things though that is really unfortunate is the autofocus system on this guy. Really, unless you're shooting at 60 frames per second at 4K, that's really the only time that the autofocus system can keep up. Personally, I don't like the look of 60 frames per second. I like to shoot in 24, and so that's what I'm shooting in right now. And I don't like that I can't rely on the autofocus system. A lot of people say, hey, if you're a professional, you're not using autofocus. And yeah, that's true. A lot of the times I do use manual focus, but I really like the chance to have autofocus because I use one camera for both YouTube and just my professional work. And so being able to have the camera that I can just turn on and focus on me while I do shots like this, that's really important, something that can track with me. The other thing is I do really like the 120 frames per second on this. I think it's very smooth, but there's no autofocus in that either. And again, a lot of times you're behind the camera when you're shooting that, right? And it's fine to do manual focus, but you can't even lock on and grab focus initially by pushing the shutter button down halfway when you're in that 120 frames per second mode. And that's really annoying because if you're in a situation where you're just filming something quick and you're not in, a cinematic setting where you've set up the shot, maybe you're in a wedding or just catching, random video, you want to be able to grab focus really quick before you start that 120 frames per second session. So I don't really like that part about it, and that was one thing that I started to look at in other cameras. So from the very beginning, probably my dream camera has had a few things going for it, right? I wanted to be able to have the look of a full frame sensor. Now, I didn't really know what that meant when I first started a few years ago. And really, I just like the look of bokeh. I like blurred backgrounds. I like that just makes it look very cinematic. And I was finding myself looking to create that on the Micro Four Thirds system. No matter what I was doing, I was trying to find better colors that really sort of matched more of the warmer tones that are on the Canon ecosystem, as well as, that really blurred background, which means you're buying really fast glass prime lenses, which in my case meant I had a lot of prime lenses to cover all the different focal lengths. Another thing that I needed was low light performance. I'm not always in a studio with a light, and so I needed something that didn't have a lot of noise in that low light situation. And like I said, I wanted one camera to be able to do everything for me, so that meant autofocus was a priority as well. Believe it or not, even before the Panasonic GH5 came out, I was looking at the Canon 1DX Mark II, which I'm shooting on right now. And you're probably wondering, like, how can you even compare those two? For one, the Panasonic's a Micro Four Thirds. This 1DX Mark II is a full frame. the Panasonic small, the Canon is huge, one of the largest DSLRs out there. Not to mention price difference, right? The GH5 much more affordable at around $2,000, whereas the 1DX Mark II comes in between $5,000 and $6,000. So you're probably like, wow, how can you even compare those two? And that's a good point, but those were the questions that I was asking, and I've been looking for reviews that compared them literally since the GH5 came out. Now I chose the GH5 because of the lower price point, the in-body image stabilization, and I just didn't have the funds to pull the trigger on the Canon, but I never actually got to use it either. And so I had the opportunity this past fall to work with B&H Photo, and they sent me over a Canon 1DX Mark II to give a try and test run on, and I immediately fell in love with the camera. It really ticked all the boxes for me. It became one camera that I could use to grab all of the B-roll that I wanted, and I could also turn it around and use it as a YouTube camera, right, just like I am right now, with that great autofocus system. So one of the things that I thought early on was extremely important was 4K, and I do still appreciate 4K, and I certainly use it from time to time. The files on the 1DX Mark II are massive at 4K, but one of the things that I noticed was that recording at 1080, the codec that it's using is actually really good, and the 1080 footage coming off of the 1DX Mark II looks even better than the Panasonic, and sometimes I think it even looks better than the Panasonic's 4K. Now I know a lot of people are going to be like, how you can't even compare those two, there's pixel sizes and all that, and I get it. I'm just saying the codec and the color science that's in Canon makes the footage that I'm shooting at 1080 look even better. And especially when you're comparing the 120 frames per second recording capabilities of each, when you're shooting at 120 at 1080p, man, the Canon absolutely stands out as that buttery smooth footage, but it's got the autofocus system, so you can actually track subjects while you're recording at slow motion at 120p, and the colors and the 1080 codec, it's just superior. I mean, you can't beat it in my opinion. It looks better to my eyes. And then you have the autofocus, right? Arguably, the dual pixel autofocus system of Canon is the best in the business. I don't think that a lot of people will argue with that. Sony does do a good job, but Panasonic is not even close in the autofocus realm. And so having a system that I can trust to just set up, push record, and have it track my face as I move around the frame like this, that's huge for me, because for me, okay, gear that gets out of the way and allows you to create without having to worry about pulling focus all the time or making sure lighting's perfect and all that, that allows me to be more creative and to think through my videos and to focus on actually producing creative content more than all the technicalities of making sure everything's perfectly spot on in settings. The other really incredible thing is that this camera is insane at taking photographs, okay? Now, the GH5 is really good at pictures as well, but this is on a totally different level with the 1DX Mark II, and I noticed that as I was testing this camera in the fall, I actually fell back in love with photography and taking still shots. I was, pushing different angles again. I was starting to look at things through the lens more often and not look at things exclusively for video, but also just to take dynamic pictures. And so that's really cool, I think, when you have a piece of gear or kit that actually inspires you to be more creative. There's just a ton to be said for that. So I was traveling around Pennsylvania in Amish country, and also went over to Philadelphia and just saw some really amazing things and began taking pictures more. So just some of these photos that I'm throwing up right now, you can see just how incredible the details are. A lot of these are taken with the bracket system and in post-processing using HDR and that kind of stuff to stack these images for the exposures, but it just really made an incredible time for me to be re-inspired as a photographer. Another thing that's really amazing is the Canon color science. A lot of people talk about this, and I don't think I really appreciated it until I started using it myself, but just the fact that straight off the camera I can get this look right here. I haven't edited this footage at all. I haven't done any color correction or anything like that. This footage is coming straight off the camera, which there again allows me to focus more on creativity and content and less time in editing, right? So when I was using the GH5, the image always looked nice, but I always had to tweak it, right? I went through color profiles and changed all the saturation and all that stuff to try to get a flatter image so that in post I could do a lot more color grading to make it look, you know, different ways and warmer and all this stuff. And ideally, I would love to spend less time in color grading, unless it's a project that I want to shoot in closer to a log format and just, you know, color grade the heck out of it. But just for this kind of stuff, I'd rather it to come off the camera and do little to nothing to it as possible. And that's what's happening with the Canon color science. You know, skin tones are right on the mark. I don't have that, you know, slightly blue look to anything. It's not, you know, green in the skin tones, that kind of stuff. It just looks great. And for me, that speeds up my editing process because I can just focus on the edit and being creative and less time doing color correction and exposure correction and all that. So those are some of the reasons that I chose it. Guys, I am so excited to start producing content with this Canon 1DX Mark II. Actually, the last several videos that I've released were shot on the Canon 1DX while I was borrowing it from B&H, but now I have my very own. I'm really excited, and I figured out that if I could just sell the camera gear that I already had with the Panasonic GH5, the G85, and all my lenses, I could come very, very close to the purchase price of my Canon 1DX Mark II. I did buy a used one, so that was that made it a little bit more affordable to buy it used and to get the lenses used as well. Now, I know that a $6,000 camera is not feasible or an option for a lot of folks, and I totally get that because it wasn't for me as well. And you don't need a $6,000 camera, to be honest. You've got an amazing content creator just right inside your pocket, right, with your phone. But if you are looking for a system that does have that really nice autofocus, or maybe you're looking at something that needs that color science or some of the things I've talked about, you can also check out the Canon 6D Mark II. That's going to be a great camera that's coming out right now. And I think that the vlogging capabilities of that is huge as well, because it does have the flip out screen. That's one thing that the Canon 1DX Mark II doesn't have. It doesn't have a flip out. So my current setup that I'm filming right here, YouTube on, I'm using the small HD focus screen. That's a monitor so I can see myself and make sure the shot's all just right in the frame. And it also allows me to do some really cool things by having audio meters on it and histograms and just a lot of different things. And I'm going to do a full video review on that monitor very soon. But I did want to give you a quick update on the YouTube setup that I'm using. So obviously at the core of everything now, I have the 1DX Mark II. I have most things that I'm filming as far as talking headshots are being done on this 16 to 35 millimeter f2.8. This is the L series Canon lens, as well as I have the 70 to 200 f2.8 L series, and I'm using that as mostly for B-roll and just being able to use that amazing depth of field to blur out the backgrounds and do product photos and that kind of stuff. And so I'm really excited about using just those two lenses. I am looking to get some faster prime lenses for this eventually down the road, but I need to just, you know, focus on paying off all of this first. But yeah, I'm really thinking about using some Sigma lenses. I really would love to get my hands on a 35 mil that maybe is at a 1.4 or something like that. I think that would be huge. And so thinking about that, or maybe a 24 millimeter, but getting something that's a faster lens to get better depth of field, even more blurred background. I'm excited to be trying that in the future. I'm also using some new gear from Aperture. I am still using the 120D, but I'm using the mini light dome instead of the larger one that I reviewed. And I'm going to do another update review on all of this stuff as well. And the Aperture Deity mic. You know, guys, I've been having some issues with my audio quality, and I really wanted to up that as I'm trying to produce more content and release twice weekly for you. And so I hope that this sounds better now. I'm running it through a Beach Tech preamp, and so hopefully this audio quality is really going to bump up for you guys. You'll be able to enjoy it a little more. And I also wanted to let you know that I do have an Instagram account. You can go over to Instagram and follow me at TimothySundayJR. I am posting there there every single day at 10 a.m. I post a lot of different pictures about travel and photography and also my love of coffee. And a lot of times my Instagram stories are based around behind the scenes stuff of what I'm doing with YouTube. So I'm going to leave a link directly in the description below. But come on over there and join the community on Instagram. I'm really active in comments here. I try to respond to every single one, which is pretty awesome. I feel like I have a lot of the YouTubers that are at my size that I follow. I don't usually get responses back, so I'm trying to really create a community. So I'm in the comments here on YouTube, but even more so on Instagram. You can connect with me in DMs and you can comment on photos, and I'm always going to comment back. So I really love to be active with you guys and to just really develop this community together and build something awesome of content creators here on YouTube. So again, at Timothy Sunday JR, and I will leave a link in the description for you to check that out and join me every day at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Instagram. That's going to bring us to question of the day. I do want to hear from you guys. Like I said, I want to be able to reply and talk with you guys. So let me know in the comments down below this video, what cameras are you shooting with? I'd love to hear what kind of camera gear you're using, what system you're on, whether it be Canon or Sony or Panasonic or some other system that might be awesome as well. Guys, just let me know. I'd love to connect. Let's encourage each other and figure out what kind of gear we're all using. So guys, thanks so much for watching today. And hey, if you wanted to check out a video that I made about all of the different Panasonic lenses that I used for my GH5, you can check out that video right here. And if you want to check out more videos from my channel, you can check out one of those right here. So guys, that's going to do it for me today. Thanks so much for stopping by. Remember to go out and create something awesome today. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next video.